What's going on, everybody? I hope you are all staying safe out there. It's Lieutenant Buzz Lightbeer back with another State of the Game recap, and after today, we've got a laundry list of items to quickly cover along with some of my feedback for most of it. But before we begin, please support my channel by smashing the sub button, commenting, and liking the video, and if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that notifications bell to never miss another upload from my channel. Now, as I said, we've got a lot to go over, so here we go. So today's State of the Game stream was conducted by Hamish, Johan, and Mackenzie, and to start off the stream, they covered the priority alerts, which consisted of the following. First off, there was a maintenance yesterday to fix an issue that allowed the stacking of the Apex Predator buff by equipping and re-equipping the Hunter's Fury gear set. Also, they updated the text of the Unwavering SMG weapon talent to properly reflect its functionality, and they also fixed an issue that it was allowing players to go rogue without being properly marked. Now, FYI, there is another maintenance set to deploy tomorrow at 10 a.m. CEST to fix an issue with missing apparel event keys. So next week, you should receive a retroactive reward of the missing keys since the beginning of the apparel event, should you be missing them. Also, the tentative launch date for Title Update 11.1 is October 20th, and they did announce that there will not be a State of the Game stream next week. Okay, so let's get into the changes to the summit, and there are a lot of them, some positive and some not so much, but I want to first cover what was discussed and then give you my feedback. So first up, there will no longer be an elevator floor selection menu. For those of you who have played Summit, you know that the elevator is essentially the menu interact to choose where you begin your Summit experience, and it also keeps track of your current progress and rally points. But in TU11.1, both the interact menu, as you know it, and rally points will both be removed. Instead, the elevator will be the customization loading area, where you will be able to fully select your difficulty, ranging from normal to legendary, and you can custom select your directives, all 9 of them. So just to clarify, yes, you can technically play through the entire summit on normal difficulty, free of the jumps in difficulty and free of forced directives. Or you will be able to go full Rambo with legendary difficulty for 100 floors, and if you select them, all 9 directives active at once. And just to clarify, when I say all 9 directives, you will have the option to activate the current 5 directives we have in the live game, along with 4 legacy directives that were previously in the game to give you a total of 9. Quick side note, you can change your difficulty anytime you choose. So you could technically play floors 1 to 90 on normal and then 91 to 100 on legendary, or switch anytime in between along with changing your directives. They have also introduced a threat scaling mechanic that will add in mini bosses on a more regular basis instead of the normal every 10 floors, and this new mechanic is designed to add a natural difficulty progression the higher you progress within the summit, regardless of your current difficulty settings. On top of this, and baked into activating directives, there will be a new targeted loot chance bonus modifier that is hinged on how many directives you have active while taking on the content. Now, for each directive active, your targeted loot chance is increased by a factor of 1. 3 directives active at once, you have a 3 times chance of getting targeted loot to drop. But what was not made public is what the factor percentages will be set at. Now, this targeted loot chance bonus will stack on top of what is already currently in the game for difficulty settings. Legendary difficulty has the highest chance for targeted loot to drop, and then it decreases down from there as you modify the difficulty to an easier setting. This will give players a way to artificially pump up their targeted loot settings by activating a directive or 2, but still tackling the overall difficulty that they are comfortable with. They did say on today's stream that the current incentive for adding extra XP for enabling directives was simply not enough. I totally agree with them. So they have now added on this targeted loot chance drop bonus. Probably the biggest change coming in Title Update 11.1 is that we will finally get a personal targeted loot mechanic installed into the game. Now this will allow you to customize what loot you are grinding for right now, specifically in the Summit game mode. So in theory, if you were in a squad with 3 other players, all 4 of you could be chasing a different targeted loot item simultaneously. This new personal targeted loot mechanic does not apply to the open world, with the only change to that venue being that gear set targeted loot will now be broken down by individual gear sets. So for instance, you could see Lincoln Memorial, instead of showing gear sets, it would identify the exact set like Hardwired or Striker's Battle Gear, which will help you identify and exactly target the gear set you want to grind for. There will also be a newly installed Summit Weekly project that, once you have completed the summit for that week, that means floor 1 to 100, will award you with a cache containing an exotic, a named item, missing crafting blueprints, and any missing specialization points. Additional changes to the summit include removing the windows and the doors to floor 100, therefore removing the out-of-room cheese method, and Ridgeway's Pride. The exotic chest piece will now get a buff, so that the bleeding edge talent will apply to targets within 15 meters, and they buffed the repair rates pretty significantly. And finally, changes are being made to allow for quicker laptop interactions, making the holding of shade crates more beneficial, adding improved UI notifications about exotic fire teams and bosses, increasing the number of Ridgeway's Pride parts drop chances, and the quest now only requires that you neutralize 2 hunters and rogues to better assist solo players with completing this quest. Loot crates will reset if you encounter them again. That means if you're playing through again, you're going to see closed crates that you can then loot again. Matchmaking without reloading. Mega Map will now have the correct tabs, UI and map fixes, improved loot from final 100th floor enemy, and the White Tusk have finally been taught how to properly hold their weaponry. Okay, so overall, a lot of initial changes to the summit will be coming our way later this month, and like I said, at least on the surface, the majority of these changes look great. But, and there is always a but with changes to this game, not all the changes to the summit will net a positive effect. For instance, there is no correction for how little loot drops for solo players versus joining a full squad. Lone wolves risk barely seeing any loot at all, as everybody knows that the more players per squad equals more loot will fall. Also, this new directive targeted loot chance modifier only works if a regular loot pile falls on the ground, as it is an added layer to the current loot drop system. If you are solo and killing all the targets, you will get very little regular loot drops to fall, and they will therefore see very little targeted loot with those drops as well. Why should a solo player attempt the summit and engage with directives when all the difficulty in directives really don't amount to much unless a normal loot drop occurs? Furthermore, this new directive drop chance modifier is attempting to incentivize players to use more and more directives. But what we really need is the directives to be reworked to have both positive and negative side effects. All 9 of these directives do nothing but remove agent capabilities and slow the pace of combat, and now, instead of reworking them and adding the loot drop chance incentives to use them, they are simply trying to entice players to hurt their player experience with the chance of getting targeted loot to drop. Also, with this targeted loot chance modifier, it does not address the overall loot quality. It doesn't give us incrementally better loot rolls based on the number of directives active, it simply ups the chance of loot drops to happen, and more specifically, targeted loot drops to happen. And once again, we are back where we started in this argument that the solo player is truly lost in this equation. Looking over this new mechanic, it seems to make much more sense to run in a full squad on heroic or legendary difficulty so that I have high base chance of targeted loot drops to occur, and then I add on a few directives like Fog of War and Ammo Hoarders so that I minimally affect my experience and pacing of the combat while boosting my targeted loot drop chances. For me, it really feels like they are throwing everything they can at the summit, including the kitchen sink, in the form of customization and possible loot rewards, but they have not addressed the underlying issue with the summit, and that is the fact that it is boring and incredibly repetitive. I saw a few mechanical changes listed for TU11.1, but nothing about increasing the number of chambers, encounters, objectives, or even changes to vary the overall visual experience. The summit, no matter what you allow players to do to customize their potential loot drops, is still effing boring and repetitive. Don't get me wrong, by allowing players to choose their targeted loot, they are doing something positive for the player base. But if Summit really was interesting and truly offered a highly replayable experience, would they need to offer this new mechanic? Or, if the Summit was really crushing it, why not install this new personal targeted loot mechanic into the entire open world experience? Now, I am guessing here that the Summit is not doing as well as they had hoped in terms of player counts, and with this unexpected drop in the counts, they are throwing everything at it in an attempt to keep it alive and to keep us interested until whatever they plan on unveiling in the future comes to fruition. Okay, I think I've reached a great place to end this video, and as always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comments section below. What do you think of the new changes coming in Title Update 11.1? Just like I said at the beginning of the video, if you haven't yet done so, please smash that sub button and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss an upload notification from my YouTube channel. If you liked the video, rate it with a thumbs up, if not with a thumbs down. If you feel like purchasing one of the Iron Horse Raid PDF t-shirts, links in the video description and in the pinned comments, and remember, all proceeds from the sale of this specific shirt go to charity. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related, and until the next one, this is Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear, signing off.